Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon. This is Edward Ahmed Mitchell, the Deputy Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Thank you for joining us for this special community briefing via CAIR on Air. We thank you for joining us. A special thank you to our listeners on American Muslim 360 as always. Today, we are doing our program on a Monday because we've got some special important news to share with you. As some of you may have heard, over the weekend, last Friday, we announced that a federal judge in Texas had blocked the state of Texas from enforcing its anti-BDS, anti-boycott law against our client, a Texas businessman who was at risk of losing a contract that was very important to him and his community if he would not sign a pledge that he would not boycott the Israeli government over its human rights abuses against the Palestinian people. Alhamdulillah, CAIR and CAIR Houston filed legal action and got a victorious ruling, good ruling last Friday. So we're going to talk about that today, inshallah, with the people who made it happen. Let's bring on now our special guests, Ghadir Abbas, Senior Litigation Attorney with CAIR National, John Floyd, Attorney and Board Chair of CAIR Houston, and William White, Director of Operations for CAIR Houston. Assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. How are you?
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you, dear. And now the next question, also from the Houston Chronicle. Now, this was a narrow ruling pertaining only to A&R, correct? Can you address that?
Sure. Well, it was narrow in one way, but it was very broad in another way. So, and there's really two parts of the ruling. One part is the law a violation of the First Amendment or not a violation of the First Amendment? The reasons that Judge Hayden provided for why the First Amendment is violated when you require Texans to sign a loyalty oath to Israel were unequivocal. They were very categorical. There's no wiggle room at all, and so in that way, it was very broad. What was narrow, the only thing that was narrow about it was that the judge you remember, this is in response to an emergency motion. He say, I want to develop the factual record. And so in those situations, sometimes the judge says, I'm going to take my broad ruling that this law is illegal and needs to be stricken. And for the moment, I'm just going to try to freeze the situation that prevailed before the lawsuit existed. And so, inshallah, if the injunction is followed, and we hope and trust that will, A&R Engineering will be able to enter into a contract with the City of Houston. City of Houston is, by the court's order, authorized to deliver to Rasmi a contract that doesn't have the loyalty oath to Israel in it. And most importantly, the state of Texas is prevented by law, by court order, from interfering with Rasmi's dealings with City of Houston in regards to the contract. That's a win. Definitely.
I don't know if this is the way Ghadir Abbas's mind works, or if this is the way that he expresses himself, or if he's just trying to obscure the details of Judge Hannon's decision. But let's turn to the analysis of Ariel Davidson in the Allgemeiner. To get right to the point, the italicized portion of the statute, commonly known as a residual clause, serves to expand the rule's application to situations not specifically stated in the rule. This is the language with which Judge Hannon took issue. Under Texas law, boycotting Israel is defined as, quote, refusing to deal with, terminating business activities with, or otherwise taking any action that is intended to penalize, inflict economic harm on, or limit commercial relations specifically with Israel. The term any action is too vague and could mean speaking at a rally, for example, which the Constitution does protect. But the judge ruled that the First Amendment does not protect boycotts, such as the BDS movement. Purely economic conduct, such as refusing to deal with or terminating business relationships with Israel, is clearly not literally spoken or written speech. So the upshot is that Texas will give CAIR's client the opportunity to sign a newly worded contract, or, more precisely, a newly worded residual clause. And the judge's ruling only applies to just one man in this case. The court is not convinced that on this record, a statewide injunction is appropriate, and further finds it unnecessary to give relief to persons other than the plaintiff. Did you catch any of this in Ghadir Abbas's description of the case?
The dream team. Good to see you.
Let's take a look at CAIR's dream team. In 2022, William White, CAIR's director in Houston, tried to boss around Houston law enforcement over something he had nothing to do with that happened thousands of miles away from Houston.
I think that the anti-Muslim bigotry we've witnessed over the last 20 years has directly played into this hand of now people are dying, hoping that Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office, Harris County Constable's Office, Harris County Sheriff's Office will do the same. No one's going to stop us from being in this country. No one's going to stop us from worshiping in this country.
And when it turned out that it was a Sunni Muslim killing Shiites in New Mexico, he said this.
We're very troubled by the suspected motive in this, that he was a Sunni Muslim targeting Shia Muslims.
And never apologized for his conduct or even mentioned the incident again. John Floyd is a super lawyer. It is noteworthy that among all his achievements, awards, and recognitions, there's no mention of his association with CAIR. Not on his website, not on his LinkedIn, not anywhere. And this is despite him being on the board of directors of CAIR Houston. Apparently, he is also on the national board of CAIR, but even there, they don't show his face. You know, there are not enough sitcoms about lawyers. How about one based on a failed civil rights organization that is constantly punching above their weight and getting the media to cover up for their mistakes, but always somehow foiled in the end? We can call it the Council on American Islamic Relations.
Here, Julio Vela, you are back as my co-host.
I am a little bit fatter, but feeling the same, feeling good.
All right, we got two of my great friends here tonight, John Floyd to my left, Nate Tarlow as well. Guys, welcome to the program. Appreciate you guys coming on. Guys, I want to start tonight. The big news, obviously, from yesterday, the mass shooting in San Bernardino. New details coming out, and it appears this has got some links to terrorism. We have a very big terrorism prosecution going on right here in the Southern District and federal court in Houston, and that's the case against Asher Khan of Spring. And he's accused of trying to travel to Syria to fight with ISIS. I mean, it's a pretty serious allegation. Each time you have stuff like this, a mass shooting, any kind of terrorism act, I mean, it certainly has to make a case like this much harder to defend, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah. You know, I'm sure that, you know, if either one of us were in Tom Berg's shoes, we'd be wanting to push this thing off for a while, right?
Yeah. Not as a defendant in a foreign country. Julio didn't laugh at all.
No,
a little too close to home.
Really,
huh?
No. Sorry.
And it won't happen. I represent a fair number of Muslims.
No, but in all seriousness, that was funny. That's funny. That's funny.
If you want to,
Right.
Friends, actually.
right.
That's why my default. Okay.
All you want. Yeah, and Twitter send a notification. But
When you're in all honesty, there are some things. Good Lord.
it goes back to the.
You know,
Appreciate you guys being on.
whenever I see one of these cases, I kind of cringe.